You're about to listen to the Dr. Daliah Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Daliah Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Daliah.
All right. We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Dr. 1-877-DOC-DALI. So one of my listeners asked me to clarify what's happening in Arkansas because they heard that in Arkansas, doctors can refuse to take care of you if you're gay. Now, I never heard of such a thing. I know there are some rules that are managing transgender care in minors, but, you know, who you choose to live with and be with, you know, you should not have a doctor discriminate against you based on, you know, what community you're a part of. So I guess where that came from was there was a law passed by the Arkansas state legislature back in 2021 that allowed doctors, if it was a non-emergency treatment, to opt out of being a part of a treatment that violated their consciousness. So if shall we say, somebody wanted an abortion that was elective, non-emergent. I mean, if somebody is dying and a termination of a pregnancy is the only thing that could be done to save that woman's life, all doctors are required to save that person's life. But if somebody, let's say, is requesting an abortion and that doctor says, I'm sorry, I don't perform abortions. I'm not comfortable ending the fetus's life. We're going to have to either refer you or, transfer you to care to somebody else. That law protects them from somebody suing, saying, you never gave me my abortion. And in fact, there was a lawsuit, I think it was in Oregon or Washington, where somebody wanted an abortion. The doctor didn't do it. She gave birth to the child. She has the child. The child is growing up, but she's suing the doctor for having not aborted the child. So I was under the impression that law was to protect people who, might not. I wasn't trained in performing abortion. So even if I wanted to do it, I couldn't. I don't know how to safely do that. That's not what I was trained. They've made it easier now with pills, but an abortion was a surgical procedure and there were a lot of complications with it if not done correctly. And so usually the OBs were the ones that kind of took that on. And you had a lot of obstetricians that said, no, I'm here to deliver babies, not end the life of a baby. So abortion providers were not as easy to find in some areas. In bigger cities, they were, because there was a huge market for them. And many individuals found that they could, be able to fill that vacuum. And they did get trained and they did perform them safely. But so I don't really know much because I don't practice in Arkansas. I'm licensed in Alabama and Mississippi and Wisconsin and Iowa and Colorado and Arizona and multiple other states. So I'm not licensed in Arkansas, so I haven't seen that. I'm wondering if it also includes, let's say somebody does not support birth control. Can they decline a patient saying, I can't provide the birth control, but we could refer you to somebody who can? And I know a lot of people were concerned at the time going, well, then, people could just, what if it's against their moral conscience to help somebody who's a smoker or help somebody and I don't like the idea of personal biases getting involved in medicine because the average person coming to you is probably doing something you wouldn't do, that you object to. They may have an orgy. They may be having unprotected sex, and now they have an STD. You as a doctor that's why you're there, okay? Because not everybody is going to be living their life like a priest. And so you're there, the vaccines, when there were doctors saying, I'm not going to take care of you if you didn't vaccinate. Well, there's a lot of people that, might not get vaccinated and now you're kicking them out of practice. So I'm of the mindset, if you take an oath, you're there to help them. On the other end, if there is something you think that is going to hurt, that you don't want to be a part of, you have every right to do that. If a patient wants you to do a procedure and that patient is not ready for it, that's too much. And you think there's going to be more complications than that, you document it and you say you might want to get a second opinion, but I wouldn't be able to provide that service. I've had patients say, Daliah, I just want you to deliver the baby. I've delivered babies. But if I don't have the current board certification and the current licensing and privileges, I can't do it. And I have to say, I want to, but I can't. So doctors should be able to turn down patients without ramifications if they aren't qualified, if it's something you think could hurt the patient. But if, somebody forgets to use a condom, somebody, decides to smoke, it's our job to take care of, people who, might not do the same. What about those who drink diet soda? And they drank so much diet soda, they gave themselves atrial fibrillation. I mean, doctors will be turning people down all the time. So my guess is the law was passed because people were suing, after having children that the doctor never aborted their child for them, or so. So it gave doctors some, liability protection. Now, there's another law that got passed in 2023 in Arkansas that it would allow a transgender child who got operated on or treated as a kid to, as an adult, sue the doctor. It was Senate Bill 199, and it created civil liability for a doctor who performed a gender transition procedure on a minor. If the minor was injured, affected psychologically, physically, etc., they could, up to 15 years after turning 18, sue for what was done. Now, in some states, a child can sue 18 years after birth if anything happened during the delivery. So something like this is not that unheard of. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH, don't go away. Hi guys, Dr. Daliah here. Addictions can sneak up on us and come in many forms, whether it's drugs, alcohol, sex, video games, porn, or something less obvious such as food, internet, or shopping. Addiction can seem innocent at first and then evolve into an insurmountable evil. In our book, Addiction Basics, Caitlin Kalikas and I dive into the common addictions and provide tips for identifying and preventing these before they sneak in and take over our lives. Addiction Basics can be found on Amazon or my website, drdaliah.com. Check it out.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems. For example,
diesel fuel cetane levels.
The cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts.
Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, fine farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems. For example,
product claims without proof.
Every trucker on the road has heard product claims about an additive that simply didn't match their experience. Proof is found from third-party testing by a recognized, credible source. That's proof. Hot Shot Secret Stiction Eliminator will improve your performance and fuel economy. For proof, we engaged the Ohio State University Center of Automotive Research to conduct an EPA-certified fuel economy test with Stiction Eliminator on a FedEx truck, a 2006 P500 Freightliner with 247,000 miles. The test showed a 3.6% increase in highway driving fuel economy from Stiction Eliminator, an oil additive. The complete report from OSU is available for download at hotshotsecret.com. That's proof.
Hot Shot Secret Stiction Eliminator, available at truck stops, Tractor Supply, O'Reilly's Auto Parts, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
All right. We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Doc-Dali, 1-877-DOCDALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer. And big thanks to you all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or X at Dr. Daliah, Facebook, The Dr. Daliah Show, and on YouTube. Click like and subscribe. So I got this email a little while ago, and it's kind of pertinent to what we were just talking about. So let me read it. Pearson writes, Doctor, doesn't it bother you that states threaten to put doctors in jail as it pertains to abortions and transgender surgery? Now, he goes on, but, this probably happened after Roe v. Wade overturn. And Roe v. Wade said, look, the feds are not supposed to be involved in a woman's reproductive issues at this level. The states could get involved, but the feds were not supposed to ban it. We're not supposed to honor it or encourage it. We just stay out, which, I agree with. I like the idea of the government staying out. So then states get involved, and it's obviously a very contentious issue. And so the idea that, doctors can get in trouble, I think there was a case, I don't know whatever happened, where there was a New York doctor who gave abortion pills to a Texas patient. And Texas wants to sue the doctor. New York protects the New York doctor, but the Texas patient, not sure how, maybe she went up to New York, but then she was treated in New York. So I know this gets kind of confusing, but, it's, I know a lot of people are like, well, why don't, because my feeling is, as it pertains to abortion, get the doctors back into the mix. And doctors and patients back in a room working together and try to get everybody else out. When Newsom wanted to go after Walgreens because there were some pharmacists that were not comfortable prescribing abortion pills, why are we involving Walgreens? If a doctor wants their patient to have an abortion pill, they could dispense them themselves. We're involving everybody and their mother in something that is so private, that is tragic for both the mom and the unborn child. And we're involving everybody else such that now it's a mess. I mean, it was a mess even with Roe v. Wade. Taxpayers, you think taxpayers want to be paying for abortions? If a patient and their doctor decide that the best move for that patient is to end that pregnancy, that's between the patient and the doctor and the dad, the father, and they could decide how to do it themselves. You don't need to get your neighbor to pay for it. We don't need to have Congress getting involved. We don't have to be suing people. But here we are where, because money had to get involved and we needed taxpayers involved, it started to bring, and if we did have the patient and the doctor back, maybe if patients started seeing doctors again, they could help them with the unwanted pregnancies. I don't understand how we have 1 million unwanted pregnancies each year when Obamacare pays for free birth control. It's because we've dissected out the doctor. Now you could call some random company online to get your abortion. Let's get people back to their doctor. Even doctors who perform abortion will still try and help patients not have the unwanted pregnancy to begin with. So when people ask, why is, government getting involved then at all? Well, it depends on how you look at abortion. If you look at abortion as a mom deciding what to do with her own uterus and it not being a living baby, people say, keep doctors out of the womb. If you are looking at a growing fetus with the heartbeat and the eyes and all that as a growing child, people are expecting the law to protect that child. So it's tricky. And, doctors, we're very conflicted because you cannot get through medical school without understanding and appreciating that fetus is a life. It is a full living entity that unless something goes wrong, that is going to form into another human. And watching it form into a human is one of the most beautiful things. We study embryology so much. We study maternal fetal medicine. With these laws saying, well, the fetus is not alive, now you're going to be cutting funding for fetal medicine. Women who want to keep their babies, need that help. So don't be starting to make laws going, well, it's not technically living. It's not, I like less government in our lives and more of the person and the doctor making that decision. But that's not what the government did. They made it now such that taxpayers are going to pay for your abortion. Well, now the taxpayers have a say. And they're like, well, yeah, what if I don't want my money to go to that? What if that makes me nervous? What if, I feel God's kind of mad that I ended the life? How does my tax money not go to that? Well, if we remove the legal aspect of it all and just make it medical, then that's going to be between a patient, their health insurance, their, family. And now that abortions aren't that expensive to do, we have 1 million a year we do. It's a lot. And so now you have states where they're like, well, we don't want you doing it past 6 weeks, unless, of course, for the life of the mother or incest or rape. And so somebody get a 9-week abortion in another state. Now you have all of this going on. And so, I get why there's laws, because people want to protect the unborn child. The unborn child can't vote, can't protect themselves. However, it does involve the mom, because if the mom does not want to go through the maternal risk of pregnancy, does she have a right? Maternal right versus fetal right. It used to never be an issue because they paralleled. And we had very, finite numbers of individuals whose life would be in jeopardy giving birth. It still exists. There are still risks, but it's better now. So, I don't want to see any doctor go to jail. But as it, pertains to, the science looking at transgender, procedures, where when people who have transgender regret feel mutilated, who is protecting the kids? And doctors say, well, we're protecting the kids because they want to be a boy or they want to be a girl. Well, if they want to be a girl, is it because they want to give birth? It's because they want to breastfeed? Well, they're not going to be a real girl. They're going to be a transgender girl. I go, are you being honest with them about that? That they're not becoming a real, even though you could induce a male's breast tissue to give milk, and they're trying to have transgender women who are biological men figure out how to carry a baby. It's, the individuals need a chance to defend themselves and to seek damages if they felt they weren't given proper informed consent. And so a bill like that other one, where the child can sue 15 years after they become an adult, when in some states children can sue up to 18 years, that has doctors then start to take a double take and go, well, wait a second. What if this child wants to later have a child of their own and breastfeed, and I've prohibited them from doing that? Should they sue? I think they should. And if the parent gave consent and the child didn't want to undergo transgender, they should be able to sue the parent too. Because it's that child's body. Now, somebody could say, well, Dr. Daliah, the child should sue if they wouldn't perform the procedure. Well, that does, bring up a legal question. I'm no legal scholar. But if there's a risk of permanent damage, so let's say a child wants to have, cosmetic surgery. They have to have parental consent. They have to fill out the paperwork. They have to sign. If a doctor says, look, I don't think you're a candidate, they have the right to decline. That's why there's some states with laws saying a doctor has a right to decline if they think somebody is not going to be a good candidate or they're going to have. So, for example, there's a lot of plastic surgeons that will not operate on you if you smoke because you aren't going to have as good a cosmetic outcome. So if a teenager smokes and they say, I'm not going to do it, can that teenager later sue saying, you never gave me the breasts I wanted and I suffered from that? So, this is for the legal scholars to debate. But I don't want to see any doctor go to jail, which is why I would rather it be between the doctor and a patient. And there are medical boards that'll make sure that there isn't improper medicine being done. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems and their solutions. For example,
Diesel fuel cetane levels.
in many states, the cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts. Due to a cleaner burn, there are less hydrocarbons and particulate matter in your exhaust. This reduces the blockage of your diesel particulate filter. Using Diesel Extreme generates 83% less DPF regeneration. The 6-in-1 Diesel Extreme formula also includes the most concentrated detergent on the market, lubricity enhancer, water demulsifier, rust and corrosion inhibitors, and a fuel stabilizer.
Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, fine farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
All right. We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So United Health Group CEO Andrew Whitty has stepped down. Now, this is months after the other United CEO, Brian Thompson, was murdered in New York. So United Group said CEO Andrew Whitty is stepping down for personal reasons and suspended its 2025 forecast. So shares for United tumbled. Whitty will act as a senior advisor to his successor, Stephen Helmsley, who served as their CEO from 2006 to 2017. Whitty oversaw a tumultuous last year for the company, which grappled with government investigations as being reported by CNBC, a historic cyber attack, higher than expected medical costs, and then a bunch of blowback after the murder of CEO Brian Thompson, as well as there were idiots that were posting pictures of other CEOs saying, trying to induce other copycat murders. Allegedly Luigi Mangione is now arrested and going to be tried for. So United Health Group on Tuesday announced the surprise exit of the CEO. And so, is this a sign of more to come? Shares of CVS Health dropped. Elevance Health has dropped. Humana, Cigna. So we predicted that these health insurance companies were going to eventually fall. Whether it was because of Obamacare, whether it's because the taxpayers don't want to subsidize them for the crappy premium hikes because of Obamacare, if it was because these drugs are so gosh darn expensive, and so some people are getting their Ozempic for $25. I have a family member who has diabetes. With all the discounts and insurance, they're still paying $400 a month. Now that's better than $1,000 a month, but that's with insurance. Something's got to give. And so, these insurance companies, how they work is they have X amount, a small percentage of very sick people that's going to cost them a lot of money. But if the majority of their premium holders have a lot of money and are not using the insurance because they're healthy and they're paying premiums, these insurance companies could stay afloat. Well, now, because of Obamacare, people are like, well, wait a second. I'm not going to spend $1,000 a month. I'll just wait because now they can't, reject me for pre-existing conditions. So I'll wait till I need them, which a lot of us like, which is nice. The problem is now those insurance companies don't have as many healthy people putting money in. So what are the health insurance companies doing so they don't go under? They're going to telemedicine. So many of you will go to your insurance company saying, okay, I need to see a doctor. I need a physical. And they forward to you a telehealth company. And I know this because they call up and they go, hi, I'm here for my physical. Now I'm, half dressed, right? In pajamas on a telephone with them, working at 10:30 at night on a Sunday, going, you're here for your physical, right? Like outside my door. I can't do your exam and pap smear. This is a telemedicine company. Yeah, I just need a physical and I need you to fill out the form. And I need you to do it for my kid to be cleared for sports. I go, you have to go in and get seen in person. They go, why did my insurance company then give me a telemedicine company? So the insurance companies are now pivoting everybody to telemedicine so that it really saves money and saves time. So when somebody says, well, I'm having some abdominal pain, I'm thinking to myself as an ER doc, let's make sure it's not appendicitis, mesenteric ischemia, colitis, a mass. They're hoping that somebody's like, oh, okay, did you have some diarrhea? Well, a little. Did you eat something bad? Yeah. Well, take some Pepto and call me in the morning. They just saved money because there's no test being run. Remember I told you I had a patient call up thinking he had diverticulitis and wanting 2 antibiotics. We hear you guys advertise that you'll treat diverticulitis. I have diverticulitis. I go, really? He said, yeah, nice guy. I have pain in the left lower quadrant. I've had diverticulitis before, so I'd like some antibiotics again. And I'm just talking to him, and I'm like, something doesn't sound right. He's been sick. He's kind of had a cold. So it was a couple years ago during COVID. I'm like, look, I don't know if this is diverticulitis, and I don't like the fact that you're having abdominal pain and I can't examine you. I want you to go in and get seen. He's like, okay, you're the doc. Thank God he didn't give me crap. Next day, I see a message. And from a patient, I'm like, oh, he's going to rip me a new one. He got mad that I sent him, to the ER. He said, doc, you saved my life. First, you were right. I had COVID. But what that COVID did is it gave me a blood clot. And I had a blood clot in my left renal vein. I would have died that night if you would have just given me antibiotics and told me to just stay home. Now, that cost money for that insurance company. But we saved his life. If he would have just taken the antibiotics and died at home because I didn't diagnose him correctly, how much would that have cost the insurance company? Hardly anything. Just the telemedicine call. So insurance companies, have learned to save money. They've also, though, in their defense, you have somebody who goes, I got strep throat. I need an antibiotic. They call the telemedicine company. Telemedicine company requires them to upload an image. Their throat looks nothing like strep. Turns out they don't really have the full symptomatology of strep. The doctor says, look, looks like a virus to me. If you think you have strep, go and get swabbed. In the meantime, we're going to recommend symptomatic measures, saltwater gargles, etc. Let's give you a note off work. Rest, and you could always call back or go and get seen. It's saving the insurance company money that they're getting a doctor to see them online. But that's only going to last so long. Because what if a patient who has been calling for multiple UTIs actually has cervical cancer? There was a case of a patient who had stage 3 cervical cancer, but the doctor was just diagnosing her with UTIs. Finally, somebody examined her and did a scan and found cancer spreading. That's going to cost the insurance company a lot more than getting the cervical cancer addressed before it turns into cervical cancer and it's only mild dysplasia. So I'm not here to fix all the health insurance companies' problems. But we need health insurance companies because the other option is government-run insurance. And with, our military struggling with the care they get with the VA, we see what's going on with Medicare. That's not ideal. And Americans are spoiled. Those expensive drugs I read earlier in the show, the fact that we could treat muscular dystrophy, cancer, treat HIV with 3 different medications in one. HIV used to be a death sentence, and now people are living so well, thank God. Low viral loads, happy, healthy lives. It's going to cost money. So the first thing that has to happen is we get these drug prices down, which Trump is doing. Brilliant. Saying, look, sorry, guys, we're not going to pay more than everybody else. We're going to pay the cheapest rate that other developed countries are paying. So now insurance companies are going to hopefully have to pay less. Now, are they going to lower people's premiums? I don't know. They better. But if drug prices start averaging, $50 a month, that's going to be a lot cheaper than these Ozempic $1,000 a month. Dr. Daliah here. Are you tired, burned out, gaining weight, succumbing to the daily pressures of life? Well, how's your dopamine doing? How you feel right now, how you'll feel an hour from now, and how you'll feel next week is completely reliant on your dopamine. Our daily motivation and willingness to push through challenges depends on the intricate chemical process dopamine provides. Christian Kalikas and I created Deploying Dopamine, a book that tells you what dopamine is, when it dysfunctions, and how to successfully deploy it when needed. Find Deploying Dopamine on Amazon today. Check it out.
At Hotshot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems and their solutions. For example,
Hotshot Secret Stiction Eliminator.
Stiction, that sticky friction, undermines the performance of diesel engines. Third-party ASTM testing verifies that Stiction Eliminator removes 2 times as much stiction than any alternative on the retail shelf. Stiction Eliminator is formulated to be left in the engine oil. It works as you drive.
Available at truck stops, Tractor Supply, O'Reilly's Auto Parts, and online at HotShotSecret.com. Hotshot Secret. Powered by science.
In a study, it was found that 33% of 44 herbal supplements had no trace of the advertised herb. Don't let that happen to you. Hi, this is Dr. Mitch. If you want to ensure quality, please go to TotalWellness.com. Supplements made for physicians only now available to you too. TotalWellness.com, helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.
Carl Amari here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you, and be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
All right, we're getting groovy now. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. I gotta tell you, I love music of all genres, and that I gotta tell you, music really brings you back. Do you guys have that where you'll hear a song, and it was either a song played at your prom, or a song on a date, or a song one of your, older relatives that have passed would sing, and it kind of brings back memories and stuff? Yeah, there's some songs I just can't hear because they'll make me sad because I'll be thinking of those memories. But then there's other songs it's like, okay, that's pretty groovy. So, for those of you that kind of need a cheering up, and there's a particular genre that does that, have those songs ready to go. I got to tell you, some of my high school years, it's interesting. Some of the music, like I loved my junior year of high school. I did not love my freshman year of high school. Went to 2 high schools, and I did not like that. So some of the songs of that year, ugh. But it's interesting stuff. Now, also what's interesting is how are we going to address Medicaid? You are going to see articles. In fact, a lot of doctors are asking, a lot of these doctor groups are saying, you need to fight the Medicaid cuts. You need to fight the Medicaid cuts. From what I understand, what's happening with Medicaid is we have a quarter of the American population on Medicaid, and they're able-bodied workers. And so work requirements are not that unheard of. You're seeing articles going, oh my gosh, you're going to have work requirements for SNAP. SNAP already has work requirements. If you go to USDA Food and Nutrition Service, it says there are general work requirements already for food stamps. They say SNAP is intended to ensure no one fears going hungry. Its rules also reflect the importance of work and responsibility. SNAP has 2 sets of work requirements, the general work requirements and the able-bodied adult without dependent work requirements. So to get SNAP, and by the way, it should only be for healthy food. There should be no junk food or soda or cookies or crap paid for by SNAP. SNAP should be the milk, the vegetables, the lean meat, the whole grains, all fresh food. None of this, BS with, potato chips and all that other stuff. But anyway, SNAP work requirements say if you are 16 to 59 years old and able to work, you will probably need to meet general work requirements. The general work requirements include registering for work, participating in SNAP employment and training or workfare if assigned by your state SNAP agency, taking a suitable job if offered, and not voluntarily quitting a job or reducing your work hours below 30 hours a week without good reason. You are excused from the general work requirements, according to SNAP, if you're already working 30 hours a week or earn wages at least equal to the federal minimum wage multiplied by 30 hours, if you're meeting work requirements by another program, or if you're getting unemployment. So that's interesting. If you're on unemployment, that's how I think a lot of people are getting them. If you're taking care of a child under 6 or an incapacitated person. The reason why under 6 is because the child isn't in school. Even though for those of us whose child was in school, it's difficult when they get called out. But if you're unable to work due to a physical or mental limitation, if you're participating regularly in an alcohol or drug treatment program, if you're studying in school or a training program at least half time. But college students are subject to other eligibility rules. So there's another work requirement, the ABAWD work requirement, if you are between the ages of 18 and 54. If you're able to work, have no dependents, you might need to meet both the general work requirements and the additional work requirements to get SNAP, meaning working at least 80 hours a month, participate in a work program for 80 hours a month. You could also volunteer, participate in a combination of work or work program hours, but you're excused if you have a physical or mental condition, if you're pregnant, if you have somebody under 18 in your household, excused from general work requirements, a veteran, have homelessness, or if you are age 24 or younger or in foster care on your 18th birthday. So the idea of, oh my gosh, work requirements for SNAP, they've already kind of had them. Just somehow people are finding loopholes or still able to get them. But working, is to help them so they don't have to be in poverty. We don't want to keep people in poverty. We don't want to keep people unhealthy by giving them junk food. All of this is to supplement nutrition, to help them. Now, with Medicaid, we have a quarter of America on Medicaid, able-bodied people. So House Republicans are looking at what we could do to improve that. The Energy and Commerce Committee, according to Fox News, which has broad jurisdiction, including over federal health programs, telecommunications, energy, is tasked with finding at least $880 billion in spending cuts in this big, beautiful bill. So how do you cut? So most Republicans don't want to do deep cuts to Medicaid because we don't want people losing their insurance. But I think somebody needs to evaluate why they're on Medicaid and not employer insurance. If they are working 30-hour weeks, let's say for SNAP, why isn't that company offering insurance? Is it cheaper for them to get the Medicaid? No, so the legislation is putting a new 80-hour per month work requirement on certain able-bodied adults receiving Medicaid, age 19 through 64. And as you saw, that's already part of SNAP. So this isn't anything new. It also puts guardrails on states spending funds of their expanded Medicaid populations. The ACA allowed states to expand Medicaid coverage to adults who make up to 138% of the poverty level. Fox News also says more specifically, states that provide Medicaid coverage to illegal immigrants could see their federal Medicaid reimbursement dollars diminished, putting more of that cost on the state itself. The bill would also require states with expanded Medicaid populations to perform eligibility checks every 6 months to ensure the system is not being abused. Now that I agree with as well. Why aren't we making sure this isn't getting abused? Why, like the Tsarnaev brothers who did the Boston Marathon bombing, why were they getting government handouts? The older brother was fit, was boxing in a gym every day. Why isn't he working? So you're going to see the left start criticizing, but I mean, these are things that need to be looked at. See, we're not talking about 5 or 10% of the population that really need help. We're talking about a quarter of our population is requiring this money. Is anybody looking into why? It just doesn't make sense. And imagine how much money we will be able to save with SNAP if it's going to milk, fish, meat, and we aren't buying Pop-Tarts and sugary cereals, but instead oatmeal, healthy grains, avocado toast. You could do avocado toast. Not that expensive and way healthier and cheaper. I saw a box of cereal for $9. $9 for a box of cereal. Taxpayers shouldn't be paying that, especially for a kid that really needs healthy food. So I want to wait and see what some of these changes are. And, some people, are looking at, well, what is Medicaid paying for? What are some of these medical things they're paying for? So there's this big push for Medicaid to pay for Ozempic. That's pretty controversial. We want Medicaid to cover life-saving, dire need medicines. And if you have diabetes and you need Ozempic, you need to be able to get that on Medicaid. But what about some of these people that want to fit into a bathing suit for the summer? I'd like to fight obesity, but is that the least expensive way to do it? If people want Ozempic on their Medicaid covered, do they have to have a gym membership maybe? They're able-bodied. 1-877-DOC-LA.
Did you know that healthy arteries make a gas? Yes, actually 3 known gases. Hi, I'm Dr. Mitch, and nitric oxide is a gas that's readily made all day long to keep our arteries open by relaxing the blood vessel walls. By doing this, our circulation is increased, bringing blood, oxygen, and nutrients to every part of your body. Both age and poor diet can lead to a loss of this precious gas, and in turn, blood pressure can go up, energy can go down, and you can get tingling in your hands and feet. Well, our product, Ultimate Nitric Oxide, can easily help fix this lack of nitric oxide. Go to TotalWellness.com. That's TotalWellness.com, where we are helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.